as I unfold as a human being, as I bring love and kindness into this world, I will receive love and kindness. As I allow myself to contemplate the majesty of my being, I will also be able to bring more good into this world. I am not limited by my heritage. I am a world of possibilities in one place. This kind of thinking, this kind of generosity toward others, that others are okay as they are, that we are okay as we are, but we are here to unfold. This is a step where we begin to open ourselves to the divine feminine. The divine feminine is that part that rounds out the power and the enormous majesty with a sense of holding it all in love and respect. Today, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, but also remember that the way we celebrate Mother's Day here is to celebrate the feminine, all the feminine, both in men and women, but we especially honor it in women today. We're grateful that you are here. We're hoping that you will save us from ourselves. And there's a great series on Netflix right now called The Third Body Problem, which is, I'll give you a short description of it. There's a SETI project where they're sending out messages to beyond the solar system, and they contact a planet and they ask them to come here to save us. It's not going to turn out well. And I've been thinking about that maybe we didn't have to send the message that far. Maybe we could just send a message to the women of the world and say, could you save us? It's also brought to mind this whole idea that as I look out on the world, and I watch us running around doing what we're doing, and I think we're just like little children still. We haven't actually matured into our adult phase yet. We are enormously absorbed with ourselves. We have these great ambitions that are often so very limited in their understanding of what the consequences will be. We're like kids playing with matches. We hope it'll turn out well, but you know, it's a great experiment. And so I think for us to celebrate the feminine today is also to celebrate perhaps a maturing of ourselves. You know, the American Indians are known for saying you should think, whatever you do, you should think about what it will be like for 7 generations. And I dare say we're not thinking past 30. Do you know? 30 years, that is. Not 30 generations for sure. And we could use the roundness of the feminine to join in with this masculine doer to bring a sense of wisdom to it. That we have been so heavily leaning on activity, on the doing of the creating and the making and da-da-da. We haven't really thought, like, what exactly are we doing it for, and where is this leading us? And so I think at this point, many of our adventures in manifesting have led us to a place where we're quite nervous about what the consequences will be. Because even though this is our words and not facts, we call nature Mother Nature. We call it Mother Nature because it has supported and held us and brought us all that we have fed on for our whole existence. This profound interrelationship of life, this yin and yang, this masculine and feminine, this force that is somehow organized in such a way that even though there appears to be conflict, it is really in the unfolding of a larger, grander scheme. This thing that we called Mother Nature but also that is just life, it is just existence itself, it is the divine made manifest, the manifest made divine. This whole process can only be a beautiful process when it's in balance. And the balance requires both the giving and the receiving, the yielding and the forcing, the creating and the allowing. And if we do not bring this sense of Mother Nature, as to use the phrase, into our own being, then we will also be off balance in our individual lives. But collectively, we become quite something surprisingly dangerous. 50 years ago, there was a man, Donald Johnson, who found the beginning of a skull of what turned out to be Lucy, considered to be that missing link between us and the animal world. Lucy walked upright, had the brain the size of an orange, but seems to be the last or the earliest before the branching out of the different human-like creatures that came into this planet. And they call her Lucy because it was a female, but also with the idea that this is like Eve, essentially. And we have become the most successful of the hominoids that there has ever been. There are billions of us now. And we have evolved enormously in some directions. And the thing I would like to talk about today is us growing enormously in a spiritual and rounded understanding of the nature of life, so that we become mothers to all the generations after us, that we begin to take that role of the one who guides and leads and gives permission to be a certain way. So the song we sang today was Mother May I. And what I think many of us need is permission to not be like everybody else. If you're in this room today, you've probably taken more than one step in that direction. Congratulations. Most people weren't born into unity. Most people had to make a conscious decision that I'm going to live from a different point of view than I was told as a child. I'm going to see that as I unfold as a human being, as I bring love and kindness into this world, I will receive love and kindness. As I allow myself to contemplate the majesty of my being, I will also be able to bring more good into this world. I am not limited by my heritage. I am a world of possibilities in one place. This kind of thinking, this kind of generosity toward others, that others are okay as they are, that we are okay as we are, but we are here to unfold. This is a step that is the beginning of what I'm talking about, where we begin to open ourselves to what Mimi called this morning the divine feminine. The divine feminine is that part that rounds out the power and the enormous majesty with a sense of holding it all in love and respect. And that calling that we should heed, that we should be like the divine. Now, I know that most of the times when we're talking about the divine, it's what we think the divine is, right? Most of the time it's something we've been told. And we have the permission that has granted us to be fruitful and multiply, to dominate the earth. We've done that. We've done really well. Now let's listen to the other side. Let's listen to where we, as the most dominant creature on the planet at the moment, unless the bacteria beat us, we need to bring a mother's love to the world. We need to bring a mother's love to the forces of nature, but also a mother's love to the people that are not yet in our tribe, so that we become one tribe, that we somehow love our neighbor as ourselves, and that we actually love ourselves, so that becomes a good thing, that we spread this sense of love and acceptance out, that we recognize that people are going to be different from us, but that's not necessarily the problem. The problem is not that we don't allow for that difference and that spaciousness that we need within ourselves, inside us, and also outside us. We need all that to be there at one time. We need to be the space in which people can open their hearts and love, rather than stand in a place of fear. I've been surprised with the United States as I've traveled in other places and come back to look at it, that in this country we have a very interesting thing. We call ourselves the richest country in the world, and yet we have one of the largest death rates for babies of an industrialized country. We have greater disparity of wealth. We have more people who don't feel safe in this country than you do in other countries. We're afraid. We're ruled by this idea of fear. Do you really believe that all the guns that people have are there just for sporting purposes? They're afraid. Fear is our common denominator. And fear grows when there is not a sense of communal love and motherliness around, where we don't hold the whole of the population as they are sacred children, that they are part of us, that we are one family. We don't listen to the divine and say, you know, love is the currency, not punishment. We don't need to rule by fear anymore. I think we could be a more gracious nation within the borders of this nation. And if we were gracious inside the borders, I think we'd be more gracious outside the borders as well. We wouldn't get caught in some of the tragedies we have seen in my lifetime, as we have fought in the places that didn't turn out to be the right place for us. To bring our power and might, we should have brought healing and understanding. Wouldn't that have been better? And so, if you take that from the countryside, the size of the country, and you bring it down into the local, we treat our local friends and non-friends alike, as though they were honored human beings, as though they really mattered. That's how you would treat them. And then into the family. Now, how many of us still have a gripe with somebody in our family? Could be a parent, could be a brother, sister, might be a child. We still carry a gripe. We carry a gripe, and we can't. It does take two to tango, so it's not just one of us. But with the help of the divine feminine, I think we could sit in the place of wisdom and look out on the tensions within the family and go, so, just that. I see it, but I will not contribute to it. And it may never leave, and I may not heal it by doing so, but I will not be the contributor to this problem. And see what will happen. See if we cannot come to a place of greater peace within ourselves. Can we not use the power of the feminine within each of us to love more, to absorb the blow without retribution, to be simple but wise? Can't we do that? I think that's what Mother's Day is really about. Mother's Day came about starting about 1908. not that long after the Civil War, very close to the Russian-Prussian War, there was new weapons, new ways of killing, long-range weapons that made old-style warfare with its chance for heroism seem like a joke. People were being slaughtered. It was not long before World War I where people were slaughtered en masse in war. The world had changed. It was no longer heroic, as it used to be, a chance to reestablish the qualities of comradeship and bonding and all of that. It became more a killing field. And this is the time in which Anna Jarvis started to advocate for Mother's Day. And that has grown into what we have today, a chance to send cards to our mothers. We have missed some of the great hope at the time, which was that the women of the country would take more authority and take their place, that they would become more a force in our politics and our understanding as a nation, and so that we would change as a nation and meet the new technological world with a new equivalent power of wisdom and understanding that could come by bringing women into it, and the more exaggerated feminine that they would bring to it, that would be might be the remedy, that might be how we solved that problem. That was the original thought around that. And while it is so beautiful for us as individuals to love our own mother and to realize that this being or someone like her changed our diapers more than once a day until we didn't need it, fed us 3 times a day until we left home, did the educating and the hand-holding and got us across the street without being run over by a car, and held us when we skinned our knees and taught us our ABCs. That mother deserves our love and respect. And though many of us still have a gripe against our mothers, when you take it on the whole, perhaps it could be diminished down to the size it should be. They were not perfect. Oddly enough, they were human. But if we absorbed the lessons of the divine feminine, we would find grace for them to be just as they were, as good or as bad as they were. This phrase, Mother May I, is really, I started thinking about this in this way recently. A friend of mine said, if you want to know your worldview, it's based on how you see your mother. And I started to think just this whole expansion of the idea that we are so much a product of the way we see our mothers. Now, if you think about it, here neurologically, when you're, even today, the only world you see is not the world that's actually out there, it's the one that resides within your head, right? We call it your head or in your mind. The brain is the one who's processing this, and you're in that. It's the data that comes in is now configured into a world that we think we see, because that's somewhat a resemblance of what our sensitive have given us. But our world, we never really touch the world so much as we invent the world in our mind with the data that is given us. And if we have filtered that data through a lens of our early childhood, which seems pretty likely, then the world we're going to see is the world we were seeing when we were babies and we were taught by the experiences around us. And so how we perceive our mothers are very similar to the way we see the world, because they were the world to us. They were the seed thought for all that's come after. And we can adjust it and modify it, but most of what we see as possible might have been seeded at the time of your childhood. And so automatically we're working with this, Mother, may I? May I do this? May I be that? And the thing I'm pushing today, I'm selling this today, the thing I'm selling is we don't think we can be kind and soft because it's not safe, because that's the world that they grew up in and that's the world we inherited. So if we're going to actually go beyond where our mothers left us at birth, gave us at birth, we're going to have to go, Mother, may I? And then she says no, but not in a direct way, but like in our limited understanding of the world and what is possible, we're going to have to break out beyond it. We're going to have to go beyond what Mama says we could do. Not Mama didn't mean to limit us, but she was limited, and so there we were limited. Now we must go beyond Mama. But heck, ever since Lucy, we've gone beyond Mama. It's always been the case. Mama was right. You know, there's a saying that says, if what you're doing isn't working, why don't you do it the way your mother told you to? And there's wisdom in that. But let's also be bolder. Let's explore this divine feminine as a way of balancing out the world, the neighborhood, the family, ourselves. Let's practice contemplating that divine feminine as a permission giver for us to be vulnerable in a world that has made mincemeat of vulnerability, that has taken kindness and put it in second place beside money or status, that has allowed little children to not be fed, to be not educated, and has decided that other things were more important. Let's move beyond that. Let's move to a place beyond what is our history, beyond our conditioned experience, to say yes to that which is beautiful, yes to that which is tender, yes to that which is daringly supportive of others. Let's try that one on and see how that fits. May you have a beautiful Mother's Day. May your memories of your mothers be enhanced by sending them love. And may you never awake to the sense that you are a motherless child, but you're always held within the all-encompassing divine, which is the Mother itself. And so be it. Okay, let us pray. Let's do a little mother loving. I was going to tell this joke. What starts with M and ends in ER? And you know where your mind goes. Isn't it weird? All right, let's meditate for a second. Feel yourself settling in. This body is one of the gifts your mother gave you. Fed, clothed, pampered, protected. Thank you, Mother. This mind is something that your mother taught and placed many ideas in. Thank you, Mother. Our socialization was largely her doing. Thank you, Mother. Her example has been good for many things. Thank you, Mother. As George Washington and many other famous people said, I would be nothing without my mother. Perhaps they're right. Let us be grateful. Thank you, Mother. Amen. I hope you got something out of today's service. We intend to bring you things that will help you in your life become more of who you want to be, give you the freedom of forgiveness and the hope of expectancy that your life will unfold in a way that brings you joy, happiness, and is a contribution to the world. If you would like to contribute to this ministry, please go to unitytriangle.org, hit the donate button, and it will lead you into an easy way of doing that. We thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing you again here.